Hello everyone, my name is Quant and welcome back to some more Path of Exile, and today we're gonna take a look at my shield charging burning build. As you saw in the previous clip, you can see how it works. You charge into a group of enemies and you have elemental proliferation and just spread the burning, and due to the insane high single damage target that shield charge actually has, the burning actually deal quite a bit of damage, and actually loads of damage if I have to be clear. So this character is level 71, and yes, I have a skill point available. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna put that up, but I'm gonna go through the skill point in a little bit. First of all, I'm just gonna explain kind of the character and kind of the main benefits of having this character, so you basically can decide for yourself if this character, this build, is something you wanna watch or something you wanna skip, basically, if it's worth watching for you. So basically, like I said, this build is using the shield charge to charge in and do some crazy high single target damage. This with anger and, as of now, purity of elements, just to cap up my resistances. It got about 2000 average damage, and keep in mind this says average damage, not DPS, like for example an Arctic Breath or an actual attack would have. And the DPS means that you have the average damage and the average time, well, your attack speed basically, and it takes your attack speed into account to how much damage you do per second. That is DPS, damage per second. With the average damage, there is no DPS. I don't do 2000 damage per second. It's just every hit is gonna average on a 2061 hit. Now, what's so great about the shield charge is that it got a 200% increase damage at maximum charge range. Actually got slightly more than that. I have a 13 quality, which adds a 9% damage increase there, but if we just ignore that and actually go for the damage there, you can see it's got a 202% more damage at maximum charge distance. It's 200 by level 16, which is kinda where you wanna have your games. I mean, level 16 and plus is basically after level 16 it starts taking a long time to level up the games, so well, longer at least. So we got about a 200% increased damage when you charge at maximum distance. So you actually double this number, and yes, it's double, not twice, because if you increase the damage with 100%, then you increase it with the same amount of damage that you normally have. So you have 2000 and then plus another 2000 if it were 100%. 200 means 3 times, so it's 2000 plus 2000 plus 2000. Adding a 6000 hit. In average, it can be below that and above that. As you see, I have Avatar Fire, so it did pure fire damage, and you can see it's about 700 to almost, well, 2400 fire damage there. So it can vary a bit, especially when you take that 200% increased damage into account. But in average, 2000, and in average at maximum charge distance, it's 600. Now, I will obviously not charge at this max distance every single time, but even if I just charge it at a like half max distance, or however I'm supposed to explain that, I will deal an average of 4000, and average of 4000 burning damage is actually quite nice. And some of you guys that are doing burning builds and everything, kinda guys understand how this works when you try to use the burning build together with flame blast or something like that. You charge it up to get a big boom, and then the burning is scaled on that big damage. This is kind of the same thing, but this got some pros and obviously some cons. And I can actually go through them right now. The pros is elemental reflect doesn't do anything on you, because you only do a big boom on one target, and it barely touches you. It doesn't do any kind of damage because, well, you have a good fire resistance. I have a 76%, and if I were to have problems, I could even add the Rise of the Phoenix shield instead of the Lion's Eye Remorse that I got, which I'm gonna talk about in a little bit. So elemental weakness got no problem on you whatsoever. Now, the obvious cons is that you're, well, basically melee, because you charge in. But I don't really see that so much as a con with this build, because the one target that you charge is always getting stunned. Shield charge has a 100% chance to stun. And what I basically do when I play this character is I charge in, then find next target, and I just keep charging and just keep moving. So I'm never basically standing still, which is actually one of the pros in this build. You are never standing still and never getting hit, and I also have the what is it called? Unwavering stance, so I cannot get stunned. If I get frozen, I have immunity to frozen, flask here, frozen and shield. So you always keep moving and doesn't get hit as much. And that's also one of the pros of a burning build in its own. You trigger the burning and then you can run around, kite a bit. You don't have to keep attacking constantly to do your maximum DPS. You can actually just short in once and just run around and doing whatever you do. So that's the pros and cons. Now the absolute big pro of having the shield charge compared to another burning build is that you can use the Didos. If you don't know the Didos, here it is. You got a rather good fire damage and physical damage there. You got a super low attack speed, and that's kind of where people go like, oh, this is not good late game because it's got so low attack speed. But it's not based on actually attack speed based, it's based on burning, okay? This entire item is built on burning, and preferably even dual wielding it, because it gets main hand bonus effect and offhand bonus effects. If it's offhand, then you increase the shield duration a lot, you deal cold damage, and it also has the very nice enemies shield by you take 40% increased burning damage, which is great. But the really good thing about this is that it almost have only fire damage. It has some physical, but mainly fire damage, which scales very good with Avatar Fire. You don't have to convert 50% of the physical damage into fire. Most of the thing is already fire as it is, but the main thing is that it has a 25% chance to ignite when in main hand. And why is that so important? Well, that is because when I created this build, I had in mind I want to go in and do a big boom and everyone burn. But if I charge in and they don't burn, then that's gonna be a huge pain in the ass. Because that would mean that it's a group of enemies, I charge in, boom, and they don't burn. Either I have to use a melee shield charge, which is just 2000 damage. It's no charge distance, so it's a very low burning damage compared to what my character can do, or I have to run away and shield charge back, or leap slam and shield charge back. And I don't have leap slam with a faster attack, but if I did, it would be slightly better. Or every single time I were to attack a group, I would have to do something like place a smoke mine, charge in, activate it, and just charge in again, because I have to take in account that I don't get the ignite effect. Or I could just charge in and place a totem and then run out, that is a decoy totem, and then run back in. And you can see it's kind of a problem if I charge in and don't trigger ignite. So I was looking at the new tree when it came out, the Forsaken Master patch, and I was really pleased to see that it has an additional 15% chance to ignite, a 5% here, a 5% here, and a 5% here. So already there we have a 15% chance to ignite increased, and I was like, that's really cool. And I looked into how I wanted to make this character and everything, because I found this idea myself, and I was like, okay, how can I do this? Is this really plausible? Is this going to be even good? So I checked some things, and what I came up with that with the Didos and some couple of other items, I have actually reached a 100% chance to ignite, and I have a resolute technique, so I have 100% chance to hit. So every single time I charge in, I will hit something and I will burn them. Now this particular playstyle needs a bit of practice, because basically charge in, and if you actually miss, which is actually rather easy to do with shield charge, then you charge in, miss, and then you kinda have to do a melee shield charge. But at most of the times that I play this character and I'm getting used to this character, I always hit something. Now when I try it out with some extra clips just to show how this build works and everything, it's probably not gonna be that easy, because I'm recording and it's actually lagging quite a bit. It's not as smooth as it's supposed to be, not by a long shot. But that's what I came up with, 100% chance to ignite. So how is this, how did I manage to do that? Well, we're gonna go through the entire tree real fast later on, but just going through what I actually wanted. This 15% chance to ignite here is crucial for this build, because it has a 15% chance to ignite. We have the 25% chance to ignite from the dieters. We add a 10% chance to ignite from an increased burning, and we add a 9% chance to ignite from Moku's Embrace. Preferably you would like to have this at 10%, but I got one from 9% and I had already leveled up my chance to ignite to level 17, which gives it a 41%, but at level 16 it's 40%. So by that time you would preferably have a Moku's with actual 10%. It's really annoying if you charge in and you have 99% chance to ignite them. Once every 100 charges you actually don't ignite them. It's not that bad, but preferably you want to have 100 if you can. And this is not an expensive item by any means anyways, so well, it's not the cheapest out there, but for this build it's really worth it. And it also has the extra chance for you to be ignited and the boost effect when you are ignited. And if you feel like you don't want to get ignited or everything, just do like I did and get a dispel burning potions. And yeah, burning doesn't do any damage on me whatsoever, but at the same time I don't get anything from the attack speed or cast speed. If you guys know, the attack speed on shield charge only increases your movement speed when charging, not actual the cast animation. Well, actually the attack animation, so to say. This actually time between attack is fixed. Attack speed doesn't do anything there. It just makes you run a lot faster. And the cast speed doesn't do anything from shield charge. But it's a nice ring anyways. I mean, it already got rather good resistances, and the chance to ignite is what we need. And it also gets some extra fire damage. I believe it's a 15 to 25 roll, and I just went with this one because it was cheap and it had what I needed. So with this, we got a 100% chance to ignite. That's the big, nice thing about this build. There's nothing like, oh, I got unlucky with ignite, even though I have 70% chance to ignite, I didn't get ignite on 4 attacks, which can happen. It's just very unlikely, but it can happen. Here, it doesn't happen. 100% chance. So if you wanna continue on watching this, I'm gonna go through the items and the build and everything. First off, I wanna say 2000 damage here. It doesn't seem like much, but this is an average damage. It doesn't take attack speed in any form for this. And I don't have any increased physical damage. I do have increased fire damage here. As you can see, fire damage here. This is just basically 10% here and a 10% here. I do have some down here. I don't even know if it's any fire damage. Yeah, it's 8%, and it's burning, and 5%. So I have some fire damage, but it's not all that much. And I could actually bump this up a little bit more, but the reason why, well, I have a 5 penetration because it's 100% fire damage, and it definitely scales better with this. But the ability doesn't take penetration into account or enemy resistances, because they don't know what resistances the enemy is gonna have. If they have 50%, well, then you half the damage. If they have 80%, well, then you do basically no damage. And if they only have 20% or even 0%, then you deal full damage to them. So obviously penetration when enemy resistances doesn't take into account when you look at the damage. But anyways, the main attack here, I'm using it on a tabula rasa, and I would really recommend using this in a 6 link. So getting a tabula rasa, which is really cheap item, is really good for this build. And what I'm running here in the tabula rasa is a shield charge, which is quality. I just got it. It's nice. It's not necessary because it doesn't bump up the damage that much, but it's on, and I got it, so hey, why not? I have a 5 penetration. I have my increased burning damage, which is just level 7. I got this rather recently just to bump up the chance to ignite to 100%. Before I was using this, which is a level 17, but I switched it out anyways even before I leveled it up, because the 10% chance to ignite is more worth it than, as of now, a 10% increased burning damage. I'm using this with the elemental proliferation also. Obviously you need this, otherwise it would just be a big boom and single target burn, and yeah, definitely need that. Chance to ignite, otherwise a huge amount of chance to ignite is just going to waste, and you have to have this, because as we have a resolute technique as well, so we have no crit chance or anything like that. So all our chance to ignite is based on chance to ignite. And lastly, I'm using weapon elemental damage. This bumps up the damage so much. It's like 700 damage. And when you take that into account, like 700 average damage, and it can be pumped up 3 times, it's 2100 damage right there in this alone if used on max range. So you can see why I need this, and I can't really see any of these being removed. Increased burning damage I have to use because it's a burning build, elemental proliferation, chance to ignite, and a weapon elemental damage. I think these are all crucial together with the shield charge. So at the very least you have to have a 5 link, but let me tell you, the 5 penetration is helping out a lot. Hello there. Boom. The 5 penetration helps out a lot. I can really tell you that. Before I had the Didos, I actually just had a mace with high physical damage. And physical damage doesn't scale all that well with Avatar 5, but yeah, this is level 69, so I had to use something, right? And then instead of 5 penetration here, I was using increased physical damage. But as soon as I switched up to the 5 penetration, it felt so much better. Just did so much more damage. It's insane. So that's the main ability right there. I have the Didos, like I just talked about, and I'm running it with a cost when damage taken, level 1, with an Enduring Cry, level 5 obviously, because otherwise it wouldn't trigger, and a Molten Shell, also level 7 there, because otherwise it wouldn't trigger. And in my head I'm using my cursing, where I use Curse on Hit, Arctic Breath, Flammability, and Fork. Now the reason I use Curse on Hit with Arctic Breath is because the Didos here have a 40% increased burning damage against shield targets, enemies shielded by you. Now, when I started out this build, I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to do that. At first I actually ran it around with Arctic Armor, but I'm not entirely sure if it works. I don't know if the Arctic Armor freeze that you actually just leave behind you, I don't know if it's counting to come from you, so I don't know if it buffs up the burning damage. And secondly, I would always shot in, get them to burn, and then they kind of have to walk in this straight line of ice, which were rather thin, and it was rather hard to get them to get into the shield area and utilize this very well. And also, I don't know if they are already burning and then get shielded, does the burning just increase, or do they need to be shielded first? I don't know that, and I haven't find any anyone confirming how it works 100%. But people have been suggesting to go kind of like a Arctic Breath, Cold to Fire, linked with Cold to Fire gem, support gem, Avatar Fire together with Didos to get the burning damage increase. So I reckon that the Arctic Breath actually works and actually comes from you. And since I deal full fire damage, even the Arctic Breath deals full fire damage, I cannot actually trigger a shield effect unless the actual ability have a shield effect. And I also got a nice 7 quality Arctic Breath. Obviously only level 1, I don't leveling up because it would just increase mana cost, and it's no damage on it anyways. But a 7% quality increases the duration, and the duration it increases is of the shield effect. So that is rather great. And I'm using Flammability. I am actually leveling up Elemental Weakness because it helps out more people in the party member. Because, well, Elemental Weakness reduces the resistances the same way that Flammability does. The problem here with Flammability though is that it only reduces fire resistance. Sure, they have an extra chance to be ignited by fire damage, that's great, but since I already have a 100% chance to ignite, I don't really need that effect, so I'm using the Elemental Weakness instead. And you could actually run with Flammability instead of Moko's Embrace. It just means that you have to be cursing every time you charge. And I didn't really want that. In most packs I don't curse because it's not needed. I basically only curse on big yellow targets, and even most yellow targets I don't have to curse. I mean I just charge them, doing a sick load of damage to them single target wise with the shield charge, and then they start to burn rather quickly. So I don't really need curses unless for bosses or something like that, but it's always nice to have because, well, first of all we have the curse and then we have the Tidus effect increasing burning damage. And I'm also kinda wanting to get a dual curse, so I actually could have flammability and elemental weakness. It would be rather hard to trigger though, because that would mean curse on hit with Arctic Breath or something similar, and then the double curses. That way I could not have fork, which is a little problematic. But since I don't really need to curse AoE groups anyways, I mean I could use it just pure single target curse big bosses. So the dual curse would really work and help out in those regards. But yeah, and as I mentioned, I am using fork. Why am I using fork? Well, that's because I tried using this with greater multiple projectile or lesser, but the problem is that it just curses the entire front line. The curse doesn't trigger anything back here because it doesn't get through. And I tried it with Shane. The problem is though that it can hit one and then it changes to the same side. It can do, which means if you have a big pack here, it might just change towards this side and actually just miss many of them. With the fork, it actually splits evenly. You shoot out and then it splits towards that way and that way. So it just spreads out the curse as evenly as possible. In my shield here I am gonna get a 3 red to get a higher level cast when damage taken, and I'm gonna have a higher level Immortal Call, and I might have a Decoy Totem. I'm not 100% sure there, because having a Decoy Totem on self-cast is actually really nice to have. And currently I'm just leveling up the Elemental Weakness, so currently I'm not using this setup in the shield. For my boots I run my auras, which is a little bit of a mess right now. I mean, this build doesn't really benefit that much on many auras anyways to begin with. It just basically scales with anger, so I don't have any kind of big aura nodes or anything in my passive tree. I just have this. But in my boots I'm running Purity of Elements, Vitality, Reduced Mana and Anger, and as of now I don't have maximum resistances unless I run the Purity of Elements. But I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm probably gonna go in here into the tree, get the diamond skin, and then go and take HP nodes here and HP normal and getting the big block here. That's the kind of idea of how I'm gonna keep adding points when I level up. And by that time I'm gonna add clarity, because as you can see on the mana here, it actually runs. I don't really manage if I just keep charging. Sooner or later I am gonna run out of mana for a second. So having a little clarity there is always nice. And yeah, there are, like I said, no more auras that I really benefit that much from. You could go the Wrath, but the problem there, well, not the Wrath, Hatred. The problem there is that the conversion is already kind of bad, and I don't have lots of physical damage whatsoever. So Hatred wouldn't add much damage, and it would just lock so much mana. This is 45%, and obviously the Hatred would also be 45%, and it would just leave 100, well, at 10%. And I am not even sure if I can shield charge at that moment whatsoever, basically. So yeah, I'm just running this as of now, and kind of meh. I don't really need anything else as of now anyways. In my gloves I'm using the Smoke Mine. I use Smoke Mine on bigger targets to add the blind to them, basically. As you can see, it's always nice if you add the burning, and basically on Piety, when she gets into her fire form, she basically just comes up to you, hit you, and you basically cannot kite that. You just pop a mine and boom, you just basically stand in here and add a blind effect on top of what you got. And this character is sustainable by potions. I don't have lots of HP regen, and I don't have any leech, so that's how that works. And I also have a fine penetration here, which with a quality that I'm leveling up. As of now it's not worth. I think the higher penetration on this is better than this, so I'm not gonna change up anytime soon. It's just a 3% increased fire damage, which, as you can see, number wise doesn't increase much. We got 61 Here you can see it doesn't improve basically anything. It's just a 3%, but it's better than nothing. And then I have a leap slam. Preferably I would change so I have another green, so I add faster attack in there as well, but it's not really that super necessary, so I haven't got around that. Now for the items themselves, like I said, I already talked about the Rasa and Idas. The head, I'm using the Jeffrey's Crest. And I found this and I was like, oh, that's cool, because it got loads of resistances and quite a bit of armor, and also some chaos resistance. So I was like, well, this is all around just good. I can might as well just use this. There's no reason not to. Obviously, I could find a head with more armor and more health and even a triple resistance on that, but it would be rather hard to find. So I'm just using this as of now. It's just all around good in my opinion. I am using the Lionizer Remorse because for a long time the big problem this character had was armor, because I'm using the Tabula Rasa, there's no armor here, so the biggest armor source was already gone, so I had to really get a shield with loads of armor. And previously I had a shield with quite a bit of resistances, so I was capped without using Purity of Elements before, but when I switched up to this I was not. But I choose this shield because it's relatively cheap and it got loads of armor, which is what I needed, and it also got some life and also a good block chance. A 33% block chance is actually really good for a shield, and it also got some minus damage from projectile attacks, which is it's all okay, I guess. It's not that great, but it could be rather good if there are many in numbers or something that shoots really fast, some barrage shooting creatures. And this shield is really great for this build. That is because I have problems with armor, like I told you, but I've gone up here and taken these 3 nodes, which is 30, 30 and 50% armor from equipped shield. So this shield alone gives me over 3000 armor. That is rather sick. It has a penalty on movement speed, but it's not much of a problem because you run rather fast when you use the shield charge anyways. And I still got a positive movement speed, and that is without I don't have any leather and steel, so yeah, I still run decently in my opinion. And it's just flat out the best shield I can imagine for the price, unless you find a ridiculously good yellow shield, but this is what I got. And for the necklace I'm using this one. It's just an all-around rather good necklace. Mana regen, like I said, because I cannot really sustain the mana if I just continue charging all over the place, so this adds a little help of that. Some physical damage and increased elemental damage there. The increased elemental damage is actually really great, as you can see. It ups the damage quite a bit. Remember that this is average damage and not DPS, and you can actually 3 times it if I get a shield charge on maximum range. Also got some intellect there, which almost doesn't do anything, but whatever. And some HP and some cold and lightning resistance. Yeah, I could obviously find a better neck, but it's what I got. It's not the best, but I got it. The Moker's Embrace I already talked about. The boots are not that great. Intellect, cold resistance, some HP, movement speed, and I got some extra armor there just to get some armor, but even with that you can see it's not lots of armor by any stretch. I basically just got it because it got the main stats. It got HP and movement speed, and it got the cold resistance, which I kind of needed. Without that it would be rather hard to cap out the cold resistance. Simple as that. The belt I just used something with as much HP as possible as I got, and with as good resistance as possible. The fire resistance that I can completely remove and I'm still capped, but I need the lightning resistance. So if I find a pair, or not a pair, but if I find a belt with maybe even better lightning resistance, or with some lightning and cold resistance preferably, because that would mean I would be stronger against elemental weakness curses, and even more HP, that would be obviously better. But this is what I got as of now, so yeah. And I don't scale that well on physical damage increasing belts because, well, I don't do much physical damage. Simple as that. The gloves, I'm just using something with a super high amount of lightning resistance and some fire resistance, and I got some HP on the just because I could, and it had somewhat rather decent armor. It's not great armor by any stretch, but it's there, it's decent, not the best, but yeah. And that is the gear. No, I also have this ring, I almost forgot it. This ring is rather great actually for this build. It basically got all I wanted except for good health roll, so I put on some health on it, which is not as great. I mean, just 31 health on a ring is not as good, but it got rather good chaos resistance. This ring alone here got a 30% chaos resistance. So this ring together with this and some purity of flesh here actually puts me on a positive chaos resistance, on a positive 10%. So not even chaos resistance, well, not even chaos damage is super devastating for me. If there is a big hit, yeah, chaos resistance is gonna wreck me. But this ring is all over good. It got an elemental damage, it got some lightning damage, which is not that great, but it got some mana regen also, and I kinda need the mana regen to be able to sustain. So that's just that, it's just all around good. And now going for the tree. You can start out as a marauder as well, but I want a Templar. I think the opening is a little stronger, even though preferably I want to take this entire build towards the starting point of the marauder at some time, but it's not the first thing that you want to take. But anyways, so what we do here is we just start up going here into the area of skill, getting HP here, and yes, I picked the 1% life regen here as well. I could probably remove it, but it's nice to have some life regen. This together with this one down here is a 2% of total, and it's nice to have some regen. I'm getting this really great elemental damage with weapons because, well, we deal all fire damage, and the shield charge damage is based on the weapon itself, so it's based on fire damage. And that is an elemental damage with weapons, so this skill is great. Going out here and taking the HP, yes, great overall. And we got the Avatar Fire. Obviously not at first when we leveled, but we got it as of now. I went in here and took these. Some block chance with the shield and also quite a bit of resistance. It's a total of 22% resistance while holding a shield, because I knew I would have a little problems with the resistances, because my preferable chest piece is a 6-linked, and having a 6-link is really hard to get, so I knew I would run around with Tabula Rasa for quite some time, and the preferable shield got no resistances either, so I knew I would have some problem with resistances. So this is just all around great nodes, and I'm already taking this route anyways, and I get some block chance at a time, so it's not bad nodes. And going in here and taking the purity of flesh and all the life nodes here, getting in here and obviously taking the burning and the ignite. The ignite is key. We pick up the agility here, the dexterity, because we need the dexterity to be able to wield the Didus. Going through here, I went up and took all the fire damage here, and I went down and took the HP here. It's also great, more resistance here. And I took these because I kinda need more mana. I'm not 100% sure why I took this. I could probably do without that, but yeah, I could just refund out of that when I actually need the point, but as of now it doesn't do any difference, so I just got it there. And moving back here, we go down to the Resolute Technique, getting the extra life here and fire resistance and max fire resistance. And here we just do a little wonky route here, but it's mainly to get the armor, because armor was the only weakness, so we just get armor from shield, a total of 110% on these alone, which buffs up, which means that our armor based shield just gives so much, and the Lion's Eye Remorse is great for that. And also we go up here to get the dexterity here on expertise, and also even getting this, because this is what I need to be able to wield the Didus. As you can see, the Didus requires 76 dexterity, and if I haven't taken that 10 dexterity node, I would have 74. So I needed that dexterity, and I was just by that, so I was like, okay, I can't take that, because if you watch, yeah, I cannot really change much to actually get an extra dexterity node instead, so I had to take it, basically. Moving on, going down here to get the increased fire damage and burning damage here, and also good fire damage there. Getting the unwavering stance, it has 2 points and it's great. Sadly, cannot get the iron reflex, it's way too far off and not really much in here that is great for this build. So, sadly we're getting the unwavering, we cannot invade attacks anymore, and we're not getting the iron reflex. But then again, I'm not getting basically any evasion rating whatsoever. As you can see, my evasion rating is 311, so it's basically non-existence. And I guess if I had the iron reflex, I would be able to maybe push in a grace there, but I'm running around most of the time, so it's not that much of a problem. I rather rarely get hit, and if there are something that I knew hit really hard and stuff, I do have the grinding flask with a 60% increase armor during flask effect. Anyways, moving on. We obviously go in here and get the fire elemental damage with weapons here. It's a 50%, it's really great. And that's where I am now with this tree. Now what I am thinking of doing in the future is either adding more damage, which I don't think I will, but if I do, it will probably be taking these nodes. Also getting some resistance here. This is enough so I can remove the purity of elements in its own. Could also go in here if I wanted to get even more elemental damage, but it's not worth it considering that I could just take these two and it's 16% for the same 2 amount of points. But I'm not really looking to get the damage, so my more, well, better options I guess is either going for the dual curse for more damage on single target bosses, because every burning build do slightly less damage on bigger targets, because you basically spread the burning and everything else goes down. That's basically how it works. But bosses takes longer time and you cannot really stack your damage. You cannot do more burning effects on him. You cannot add 2 burning fates on a single target. So bosses are generally the thing that takes longest time. But then again, it's also very safe to do bosses with this build, because you basically just charge in, they burn, and then you can just run around doing stuff like Dominus, where he doesn't give you lots of time to actually attack him. Just burning builds are great. You just make him burn and then you just run around and dodge everything he's doing basically. But it's one of the possibilities to add some extra damage to big boss fights. And the more probable thing that I would do is go in here getting the fire resistance, which is not really needed, but I'm getting the diamond skin, which is okay. And then getting through here, taking HP, obviously also taking this, which is really great. And then we just go down here and take HP and armor, and probably even up here, because this first node here is not that great. It's just basically a 1% block chance, because the block recovery I don't need. But this is great node though. 4% block chance and a 40% increase defenses from equipped shield. This is a great node together with my shield, because I basically get almost all my armor from my shield alone. So this is really, really great stuff to have. So this is probably the best I am gonna do. The other thing I was kinda considering is taking these 2 strength to start getting into this circle, and yeah, it would be really great to get this, and it would probably be better at first, but as soon as I start actually getting in here, I think that this part would be better. But here we got quite a bit of HP, so it's either this or this, but I think I'm gonna go this. It's more points for more value, which means I can just go in here and stay in here for longer, and I'm starting to get rather high level, so you don't really wanna do something that really requires you to stretch so far. Like for example, I would like to have this increased area of effect to make the burning just even larger, but it's not really worth the points to get in there. But I was actually kind of thinking of getting in here and take these points, and then go in here and take these points and respec out of these mana points if they were enough. But it's not that much HP considering how many points there are, and I don't need the mana that much. I can just, well, I don't really need to spam my shield charge anyway. I just charge in from target to target to target and then just run around. I don't really need to spam it. So I definitely think this is better. And yes, there are 2 worthless fire resistance nodes, but if I want to get here, it's 2 worthless 10. strength nodes as well. The best points I would take as of now would probably be this. A 5, 5 and 10%. But yeah, when I've taken these three, I need to start getting in here or here anyways. So I might as well just start getting in here. And I can right now remove 8 mana there. And I have 1 point available, so I can already get the 2 points to actually start getting to the good part. And even this is good now because I am recovering all my life from Flask and a minimum from life region. And I could even, if I want to, just respec out of this region as well, respec out of the 8% max mana there, and use this point to be able to just boom 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 and get diamond skin. And then I can start taking these. But we'll have to see how I do. These are all good notes for this build. That's kinda how I think I'm gonna do in the future, and kinda my gear. And really the only thing I can upgrade in my gear are my offsets, really. The boot, my belt, my gloves. This ring I can upgrade, it's gonna be rather hard though. The neck I can also upgrade. And obviously the head I can also upgrade. But the good thing about having this head and the ring is, like I said, I actually get a rather good chaos resistance. I actually get a positive chaos resistance, which actually does quite a bit of difference. For the potions, I'm using a instant recovery potion with the quality. I am gonna bump this up to 20% quality when I just find time. And I got Dispel Burning. Dispel Burning is not the most important part because burning doesn't do basically any damage on me whatsoever, but I just got it. And then I got a flask here with immunity to curses. And I use this specifically to get immunity to curses. And I got increased extra charges, which is rather great because this is kind of what I use when I want to have a good life region. Since this is instant, I cannot use this every single time. I mean, if I drop this much HP and there is no mob around me, I'm not gonna pop an instant flask. I'm just gonna pop this to try and get loads of charge. So getting the extra charges there is actually great because that means that for almost all the time I'm gonna be able to at least use a pot. I mean, it's 4 charges on this alone, which is great considering that it's only 3 normal. But anyways, I have a Quicksilver flask here with Dispel, Frozen and Chill. And I have a reshot 1 when dealing critical strike, which is not that important. But the Frozen Shield I got, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep that because I have a second instant recovery if I really just drain this and have to use anyways. Then I'm using this. But it's also my Dispel, Frozen and Shield. So if I run out of both HP potions and still get frozen, I might as well have a Quicksilver. The only thing that I really think that could be better on the Quicksilver is maybe like a flat out movement speed when using it as well, but yeah, I don't really feel like that's super needed. And for the Grenade Flask I have a 38% increased recharge recovery, so I can have it up quicker, which is nice, and a 60% increased armor during Flask effect. It's not the best roll there, but I got it together with a other very decent roll, so I just stayed there and kept it like that. So yeah, that's how this character works. I'm gonna have some footage right after this where I show more of how this build works. But that's the build itself. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe and hit the like button. Yeah, I always appreciate it. If you think I missed something or something I could do or change on this character, just leave it in the comment below. I am always up for criticism and I don't take that wrong. Everyone got different opinions and everyone think differently, so everyone can come up with something that I haven't maybe thought of. And apparently I got a story that boom, and he's dead. And yes, this is merciless, but whatever. So that's my character, my unique shield charge burning build. And that's kind of what I was going for when I was creating this character. I wanted to do something unique and interesting, but still plausible. I didn't know for sure if this was gonna do any good damage or if it was just gonna be flat out terrible. So I'm just happy alone that it actually became a doable build. But I actually have to say this is probably my strongest build out there. It's very defensive in the way that you can just charge in and then just keep running around. It got loads of things that it can do together with the smoke mine, and you decoy totem, so no really big major weaknesses. And the damage is just so good. And it's one of my tankiest character for the level. And it's rather hard for me to get much tankier, because I don't scale that well to get on the life here, because I don't have that much life on my gear, since I have no life on my head, no life on my chest piece, no life on my gloves except the 42 that are all into it, no on the ring here, and measly 36 here. You see, I don't have much life on the gear, but I'm still not a glass cannon. I can survive most things at least one hit, which is more than enough, because if I get hit, boom, I can just pot up instantly with just 1 or 2 potions. And very rarely get hit with this build. Most of the time I'm just running around, and stuff have really hard time hitting you if you run around. So this is just an all around very great build. It's probably my strongest build, and it's also one of my most fun build, because it is so unique, and I really like it. There's probably people out there that is doing a extremely similar build or exact same build, but hey, when there are so many people, there are gonna be at least 1 or 2 that are doing the same thing as you. I mean, it's not possible that everyone is running unique builds. I mean, there are gonna be copies or similar to other, even if they aren't copied from each other. But I came up with this build from scratch. I thought it was fun. I tried it out, and it works great. Sure, it's a little bit of a late game build in the regard that, well, a burning build is not good for leveling, and that is true. Things die so fast anyways, so the burning just doesn't do any effect, and you cannot get the high burning damage until like the stage of the game and the chance to ignite and everything. So of course it's a rather late game build, but it's extremely fun to play and extremely fun to play. And I basically had this as a pure cleave build until I was maybe like 45 or 50, and that's kind of when I wanted, where I started really to use shield charge and actually get the burn and everything. And it's really fun to see how you progress from that until you actually get to this point where I am. Level 71, and you got everything you need for this build. 70 is basically where this build shines, because 69 is the Dietus and 70 is the Lionized Remorse. If you can get a 6th link without the Tabula Rasa, great. You might not even need to use the Lionized Remorse. You can get a good yellow shield for like level 60 or something like that, and you would do just fine at lower levels. But this build really reaches its peak at level 69 at least, because it have the Dietus. But level 70 I got everything I need, which is really great. So yeah, that's that. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and leave a like if you did like it and find it enjoyable. And like I said, write in the comment what you think about this build, if there's something I should change, or if you got some interesting thoughts on the build. Just post them down there. It's always fun for me to read the comments, and I will reply to every single one of you that I actually can reply to. I mean, unless it's something that is not need to reply to. But anyways, that's that, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Yeah, and these are fire resistance, and I was using a melee shield charge. Also keep in mind that this place is actually very bad for a shield shot build because there are so many corners and not very many straight lines or open areas. And I'm still just killing them so easily. This is basically the potential. If you do these kind of charges, you just die so much quicker. Even here, you see they pop right into me, fire resistance, boom. Still one charge and they are died.
I am no beast of burden.
Elemental reflect, no problem.
I am no beast of burden.
You can, when you jump into these boss fights, if you really want to have more single target damage, you can switch up to 2 pyre rings. I don't really know what they go for, I haven't checked the price or anything. But what the pyre rings does is that they increases your burning damage with 25 to 40% depending on roll. So if you got 2 perfect rolls there, you can increase your burning damage with an additional 80%, which would be great. The main reason why you don't use pyre ring though is because if you kill something while the burning, well, with the burning, well, while the burn, it doesn't matter if you kill them with the burning or when they are burning. If they die when they are burning, they will splatter, their corpse will explode, which will mean that the elemental proliferation will not be on the corpse anymore, because the elemental proliferation works. You charge something, they start igniting and burn, and they will burn everything around them, and even if they die, the burning corpse still got the elemental proliferation. But if the corpse explode or shatter or in any other way disappear with a corpse explosion or whatever, the proliferation disappears. But for big single target boss fights, you can use a set of 2 pyre rings. Sure, you don't get the Moku's Embrace to get a 100% chance to ignite, but if they are single target and you want to do full damage, you should use your flame ability anyways. So that's just a tip if you wanna have an even higher single target damage.
Has no one managed to kill you yet, Exile?
Boom.
Then it seems you've earned my personal attention.
It's really hard to get a max distance on this chick because she's running around a lot. But the good thing about this build is that I can just run around and killing these shield portals if I want to, and just do damage on her while she's still taking damage because she's burning. It's a very weak burning though, but let's see if I can hit. But yeah, she is a little harder to actually hit because of her. Ooh, I want to run around, but you just need to hit it once, boom, and then you can stay there and watch her burn. And single target is definitely where this build's got its most weakness, because it's a burning, you cannot stack the burning. You can just stand here and shield charge her and doing like this.
My mana is
That
spent.
works, but yeah, you will run out of mana. But it's still very great for doing it a safe way versus bosses, because most bosses don't allow you to just keep attacking them all the time. So it's actually good to just charge in and then just back off and playing defensively until you find your next moment to charge in, and you do lots of damage over a longer period of time. But that's the build. Thanks for watching. Bye.